So I'm very interested in the nature of Burning Man, specifically the nature of the states of consciousness that Burning Man gives rise to. What are the underlying mechanics? What are the underlying principles behind the states of awareness and suggestibility and openness that seem to be par for the course of this enchanted place? People talk about playa moments. People talk about evanescent lightning bolts of meaning in the perceiver's mind. Eric Davis says juxtaposition is the formal operating space of synchronicity. He posits that it is perhaps the juxtaposition of all this artwork and creativity against, or juxtaposed against, the backdrop of this desert that impregnates the objects within it with a kind of halo and a kind of enchantment. And it's really something to behold. But I would go farther in my speculation about how consciousness is stewarded in Burning Man. I think Burning Man deploys the power of signaling, the power of prompts, to prompt people into heightened awareness and receptivity. If you think of the way we use signaling and prompts in the default world, most prompts and signaling, at least in the mechanics of everyday life, are like, do not enter, open from 11 to 5, violators will be prosecuted. The world is impregnated with a lexicon of signaling that just constantly giving you warnings and constantly warning you about the impending doom or consequences that follow the carefree trespass into the forbidden areas, right? Whereas at Burning Man, our experience of the field of awareness is one in which we are constantly prompted into heightened awareness with signaling that says things like, everything you're looking for is inside of you. You might be crisscrossing through the desert on your electric bike, and then you see an artwork by Olivia Steele, which is basically giant typography on the desert with a sign that says you're perfect just the way you are. And so imagine your field of awareness now. You're in an alien environment with a desert backdrop and incredible and creative objects manifested on the scene, and all of a sudden you are prompted with words, with language that says everything you want is inside of you, and the world is full of magic things patiently waiting for our senses to grow sharper. And so what is being leveraged at Burning Man, what is being leveraged is the power of feedback loops. What is being leveraged is the awareness that consciousness is a collaboration between subject and object, that we don't end at the end of our skin tissue, and that our field of awareness, that our mind screen, that our subjective experience is mediated by what we interface and interact with. And therefore, by judiciously designing the prompts, the things in the world that we interface with, so that they signal back to us messages of encouragement and receptivity and openness, it hurls us into a domain where we re-enchant the world. The world is re-enchanted and resacralized. The world becomes a Dr. Seuss story. Oh, all the places we'll go. That feeling as a child of a world full of promise, a world that was enchanted and beckoning, right? The world that was full of clues and you could read your way through it, as Stephen Johnson says, all of a sudden is given rise to. So you're at Burning Man, but you've been essentially portaled into a childlike state of wonderment and reverie, where all the dots are connecting, and you're in a state of pronoia, where the universe is conspiring you to shower you with blessings, you know? And so that feeling of enchantment is akin to an altered state of consciousness, but it's not somehow, it's not fake, it's not fraudulent, it's not unreal in the sense of something to be dismissed, but rather it points the way to how all consciousness and awareness is ultimately stewarded. The way we see the world can be programmed, can be signaled, can be crafted into being. And so Burning Man becomes a portal or a mirror of the way things might be if only we were aware enough to steer our mind screen to heaven on earth. Which goes back to the whole idea that, like, in the end of the day, It's about finding a way of seeing the world with new eyes. But rather than relying on a bumper sticker that doesn't give you the protocols and procedures for doing so, what I'm actually saying is Burning Man could be a laboratory for paying attention to how signaling and prompts and design cues can steer awareness towards blissful mind-body states of reverence from where we can source from the holy and heal our fractures. And so Burning Man does this through deep play, through like the concocting of a psychedelic wonderland, taking cues from the situationists, you know, this radical groups in Europe that used to do things like go to Paris with a map of London to invert the world and create a topsy-turvy state of awareness by tweaking certain things and tweaking the maps we use. And ultimately that's what it's about. And that's why Burning Man is a place where we get to have the actual experience of magic. We get to experientially receive what it's like to live in a world that is actually enchanted. And it's an irresistible feeling. People who have gone there, they know it well. They'll say, oh, you have to go there to know there, to have those playa moments and those divinations full of poetry and grace. But I recommend it. And I hope that Burning Man, well, I hope it comes back on the other side of this pandemic and more people get to experience such a magical place and space.